Hi, I'm Sue Bebeck, the Art Supplies Junkie, and today we're going to learn about Fresco. Hi, I'm Sue Bebeck. Welcome to this edition of Art Supplies Junkie. Today I'm going to take you to my friend Albert Cierrvo's studio. Albert is originally from Berks County, and he picked up and moved his family to Philadelphia. I guess his retirement dream. Sold his business, which was here in Berks County, and is now happily living right in the thick of South Philly. So we're going to get in the car and go see his process. Why is it special? Because Albert does something that is extremely old process called Fresco, but what's really unique about it, and you'll get to see some of it today, is his style is actually very modern. He seems to be influenced by Pablo Picasso, and I am starting to see some other influences in his work. He's doing a little appropriation, which we all enjoy. And essentially he takes Venetian plaster and he makes his canvas of it, and then he does this really cool wax varnish process, which you're going to see in a second. And we're really excited to see his home and his studio and bring you with us. So let's go. And as usual, I like to take a little tour of every artist's house, studio, and life. And so there's a little tour from Albert coming, and here it is.
I'm showing Susan our house. This is a piece I enjoy. I've never been to the Louvre, but I love this sculpture. It's the Winged Victory. It sits at the steps of the Louvre as you walk up. And I wanted to try and replicate it in plaster. So that's basically what I did. I sort of tried to marbleize the figure. Has a nice green and gold background. I have some gold leaf in some of the cracks that I leave available. So, all right. So now we have to be quiet. We're going into my daughter's room. She's not here, and she'd kill me if I knew she was in this. If I was in this room. So come on in. She demanded the biggest room in the house. If we were moving to Philadelphia, that's the only way she would come. She wanted the biggest bedroom. So this is her room, and she's accumulating a little gallery of mine for her.
We've had that before.
Yeah.
I love this.
This is our
and that's just canvas.
Yes, this is acrylic on canvas. This is our plant fill that didn't really survive the move to Philadelphia.
And so who's Warmy?
They call me Warmy.
Oh, okay. The kids.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. Okay.
So that's why I signed it as Warmy.
It looked the same. Very
and that
cute.
was our little dog Penelope, and this is Marty Cohen from the Naughty Naughty Pet series.
Okay.
So.
Cute. This is the studio of Albert Cierrvo, was Berks County artist. Now he's going to show us his process. It's different from anything I've ever seen, and it's inspired by plaster.
Sure, yeah.
And if you're more interested in Albert and who he is, we also have a full podcast on him on Be Inspired podcast, which you can find anywhere you listen to podcasts. And here we go.
All right. So what we do with the plaster, there's basically two different plasters that I put down. There's a base plaster, which is a little rougher, that I put on this. And then there's a smoother plaster, basically the finishing plaster that I do. And the reason I put the more textured one down is just I like the feel that it gets.
So we'll look at that.
Yeah, and you can feel it. See, it's a little sandy and gritty.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw that down, and you'll see it by the end. The reason I do that, it gives the plaster at the end a little texture, which I like. You get little nooks and crannies in it. So
Like an English muffin.
yeah. So basically, I throw it down. It's almost just like icing the cake. This takes about a day to dry. Good to what I like it to be.
So you're boarding the edges 2 inches into.
Technically I don't. Just I'm doing that just because I want to keep a border for the wood. I'm just playing around to see. I want to paint the edges here. So it's just an aesthetic reason for me to do that.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah. I mean, you can see like this piece over here, I have no edging. It goes on, I try to put it on fairly light, and it doesn't have to be uniform, because the next step will sort of smooth everything out. Alright, so I did that, and then over here I have a piece that's done, it's all dried up. So we're going to use this particular plaster. This is called Grisello, and I get all the product is, it comes from Italy. It's basically a lime plaster. And this, so what you do then, putting this down, and you can see how it'll fill in some of the nooks and crannies, I guess you could call them.
So this is very refined product.
Yeah. And if you wanted to, you could add, you could put a color on this one, but it's just economically, I can just do it straight, then I don't have to waste any color on it until I get to the next level. I find it very satisfying to like just scrape stuff off and see. It feels good when you're doing it. But,
is that how you get your telltale smooth surface?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I started using the plaster, I mean, when I was doing the walls, I just had an affinity for sort of a fresco painting, and I thought this might be, you know, once you start doing something and you get bored of it, you just want to play around with stuff. It has a, you know, you have a little creativeness in your head that you want to try and do. I'm going to start to add some color onto the plaster, and I have an idea of my subject. I'm working with the Preservation Hall in mind. I want to do a jazz piece, so this is what I'm building up to. So the colors I'm using, I have here are, it's a terracotta, and this is it's called Honeybee. These are this is what it looks like. I get them in these little. This is the tint that you add to the plaster.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And basically I use it like paint. I can make any color I want.
And how long does this last once you've pigmented it?
As long as it doesn't, you know, you protect it with air.
Okay.
You're fine.
Okay.
I'll just grab a little of the yellow, the ochre. I think ochre is probably my favorite color, actually. But this is sort of, just put it down very abstractly. Get an idea. Usually what I'll do, I'll have an idea of where I'm going to place the figures on this, but this is just basically background.
Okay.
And then I'll come in. And if you, just certain ways you do your trowel, you can get like, you know, the little drag marks and stuff, and I like that kind of thing there. It doesn't all have to be filled in. But basically, I'm primarily working with 3 colors on this one. So, where's the other one here? Then we're just going to use a light, technically it was like a greenish color, but it's faded a little bit. And I just like the way the colors, you can get them to blend in together. And they'll dry up, and this base will be rather matted until you start building up the layers. The more you layer, the more you'll get a sheen on it, and you'll burnish. Over here is where I started to I added some color here for this piece, and you can start to see where I have faces that
Oh, you have sketched out a bit.
I sort of sketched out a little bit, so I have an idea of what I want to do. So here's basically, I have a little drawing in here just to sketch this where I want these figures to be. Here I know this is like, I know that was the horn there, and then this is a face. And how I draw is very, I don't want to say cubistic, or I don't know how you describe how I draw. It's just the way I draw. So they're not realistic actually, but representational maybe. I put one here. Down here I have like I imagine the piano will be coming across here. This will be a horn player. And then I usually have up here, I'm going to put in a bass, and then this guy's had to be over here. I'm just thinking out loud actually. Then you can fill in. And once you start doing this, it's almost sort of like sculpture. You just start building up layers until you get some definition of things. So this is basically how I'll start. So as you see, I started building up the color. Now what I did, I defined the drawing a little more. So I want to start going in and building, for instance, like I said, the faces here. And I'm not so worried about the colors. I like the way the colors blend. You'll see the final product when I end up scratching out that it sort of works together. Here's another face that I put in, and the hands. I enjoy doing the hands of I sort of make them prominent because I think they're actually a key player in musicians' art. So that's
Connection to the
yeah.
To the implement.
So I enjoy that. But you can see too, as you start to, I put a color down over another color, I can scrape it away. And the bottom color will come up. For instance, I'll just show you a little bit here. I can do this, and then sometimes I'll take, where do I have it? Here. I just use a regular like X-Acto knife, and I'll pull it back. And I just, it pulls off little layers. And then you can see the little crinks in there they don't show up. So you'll see how that gives it some texture at the end when I apply the final, the wax that I plan on using.
Nice.
If you're watching this, you might say, well, there's nothing really going on here, except in my mind I see it. So, but then you can feel it's something that you can't feel. As I put this is basically a third layer of plaster that we have on, and you'll start to feel the texture or see the sheen that comes up in it.
Can I touch it?
From a rough one, yeah.
Oh my!
And,
It's smooth, like.
yeah, but it does. You would think it's texture, but I don't know if you can get like a.
No, I just
get
touched
like
it. It feels like a baby's butt.
Yeah. So if you can see this, I don't know if you can get a close-up of it. What I did, since I had the backgrounds and I had all the players in here and stuff, so what I start to do, this is where I start to draw it in with I use just a scraping, like this is actually what I use here. Any kind of thing, but I found this is easy as like a compass point. So I'll go in and I scratch out where I want it to go, and then I just use little carving tools to make a little deeper impression into the plaster itself. See, like for instance, just because what I'm going to do, I'm going to wax over this, and then the wax will sit in here, and then it'll really define the piece. This is the wax I use. It's the Liberon, and it's the clear wax. And what I'm going to do, I'll put a light, just maybe 1 or 2 dots of the plaster tint in, just to give it some color. This is sort of the fun part. This would happen. This is sort of cool because I never know what it's going to look like. It's always I have it in my mind what something might look like. So I just take a little the wax, and now what I'll do, I'll rub it on, and you can start to see it bring up the images that I had. So what I do, I'll rub this on, and you can see what happens. Remember I said about the little nooks and crannies that come in? the wax will sit in there, and it'll sit in the lines that I designated as the figures. And just in this one instance here, I'll show you. I like to go back while the wax is still fairly cold or new, and scrape stuff down. You get a nice little, I just like the action that you get in it. So you get a little,
see that face starting to come out.
yeah. And like I said, I found you can't use it too dark or it just covers all the plaster up. I just like the way it and I don't know why I came up with this idea. I think I was watching some things with this graffito, I was watching a video or something.
Oh, yeah, it's real old master sort of techniques.
And I'm sort of a fan of fresco painting and just old techniques that people might not use. And I think this plaster is a good vehicle for doing this. So that's what I'll do with this piece. I'll continue to cover it over with the plaster, with the wax, and work it. Sometimes I'll have to go back in and maybe make some lines a little deeper so the wax sets in there a little bit more. All right, so now we go from the previous piece. This is basically a finished piece. You can see the lines are nicely delineated. Sometimes I will sand down pieces just to get rid of some more plaster, but the way it sets in the crevices, the darkness, I just enjoy the whole composition, how the wax brings it together, and it gives an atmosphere.
Really good too.
Yeah, well, I don't think my wife likes to smell too much.
I like the smell of
I think it gives an atmosphere to the piece relating to, a jazz club that it's sort of steamy and
face.
he's in love with his bass, and I started doing the little mouths out of the trombones, the horns and things like that.
And there's another guy here.
Yeah. So,
fantastic.
So this is my technique. I hope you enjoy it.
And what do we call it?
What will we call it?
Albert's technique. Well, that was fun. On the next Art Supplies Junkie, we're going to be talking with Fadi Akra, and we're going to have Jane Stahl with us, and she's going to talk to him about his life, and I'm going to show you his process and his work. Really excited to see it. It's something new. We'll see you soon.